Hello, hello, hello. So today is the Ace of Hearts day, and I figured I'd get on to in representation of the Ace of Hearts. Just all here by my lonely. So the week of the Ace of Hearts. Let me. It only has one birthday as well. Um, and maybe if I have some time in the next couple of weeks, I'll review this past year as well. And I only say that because I was just thinking about LeBron James. 'Cause I believe he's a two of hearts, if I'm not mistaken. Um, let's see. I think I wrote it down. Did I write his birthday? No, I didn't. Um, but the Ace of Hearts uh, is the December the 31st. So I believe the two of hearts is the 29th, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, yeah, 29th. So during the Ace of Hearts week, I know a lot of times we reflect. It's all about relationships. The Ace of Hearts is, of course, can lead to maybe clues about maybe a birth in your monthly or your weekly spread. It is supposed to be the humanitarian, but it also has its own selfish ways when it comes to that particular card. And one thing special about the Ace of Hearts, and it does lead to children, there's a certain amount of innocence. So the selfish ways may not be seen as much. So during the week, and the reason we do our weeklies is just looking at the energy of the week. So it could be a reflection on these events happening, or just your response and observation around what's going on as far as publicly, or within the world, or the energy that could be just around, or being, I guess you say, being spoken. And one thing about the Ace of Hearts is this new energy, new me. This aces a lot of times are dealing with like a death and a rebirth within a person, or within the personality as well. You know, I was just speaking. Um, uh, I just did a reading, which I am doing readings now. Or again, I have adjusted my schedule. You do have to make sure you book almost within 48 hours in advance, because a lot of times what happens is I may schedule like an Amazon shift or doing something else, which I'm a three diamonds. I may schedule something else within that, um, within those 24 hours, if I don't see I have anything. But again, so the Ace of Hearts can represent maybe children, and my experience is seeing it in Neptune was a unexpected birth, or child that may have came. Put in the headline as well. 1 second. Was a unexpected birth that kind of came about during my Ace of Hearts reading. Uh, and this person was in a full blown relationship, and they ended up leaving that relationship and moving, and actually ended up having a child by someone else that they just had met. So when I say unexpected, I really mean like unexpected, because a lot of times the Ace of Hearts can also mean a new relationship or meeting someone new. Okay, so there's getting out of your old relationship. That can be insecurities, indecisions within the relationships for Ace of Hearts. Yeah. Um, yeah, those two cards are the only cards with just one birthday. Thank you. I don't know if I can copy it. It's pretty good. Um, Put it in the headline. I don't know if you just. I'm like I haven't been here in months. Okay. So yeah, whenever you're giving a reading, it can symbolize maybe a birth or a new relationship that comes about. A lot of times, what happens with the Ace of Hearts is insecurities. I'm sorry, I got a phone call. I'm sorry, I got a phone call. It's insecurities within relationships as well. The Ace of Hearts has the Three of Hearts that supports them. I'm a Three of Diamonds. If you look at it in the regular life spread, they have um, the Three of Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, the Three of Clubs, and the Three of Spades, and Three of Clubs, Jupiter, and the Three of Spades, Saturn. And one thing about that Three of Clubs and the Three of Spades, Saturn, um, a lot of times it may say that they shouldn't work with foreign industries as well. A lot of times, so shouldn't work within like foreign trade. But land, working with land, real estate, and those things is something that the Ace of Hearts can do pretty good through their creative projects and the things they want to do. They got to have complete control because there's a lot of indecisions, right? I was speaking with someone today, and the thing about working with threes and indecision is you affect other people. Um, and because of that, you may not want to speak the things that you want to do in your plans out loud until you are concrete within those things. Oh,
Hi.
hey, I don't know how long you was back there.
Not long, not long. Tell me, what were you saying? Where you at?
I was just speaking about the Ace of Hearts, and it has a three that supported, and I was speaking about just the indecision that happens for them, and they got to have kind of like complete control sometimes, because that indecision can affect other people. So when you're working with someone else and you're insecure, you don't know, they may not be as confident in you. So it's more or less they probably want to have more control over their occupation, things they do, and they also have an Ace of Diamonds as well. So they always want to create and do new things, but a lot of times they should also maybe not get into a new business. Also, get something that has a little bit more foundation. Within their work history or within that particular project or that field, and which is surprising. As I was reading, it's like it's an ace of hearts, ace of diamonds. Why wouldn't they want to create something new? Work with new technology and new things, but they said they shouldn't. And I can see maybe it could be the indecision and not sticking things through. Those insecurities and those things that happens with the threes. But once committed, like I said, threes turn into fours. So a lot of times there's foundation, solidarity. That's just on the other side, but it
Mhm.
makes a lot of time. So
It makes sense in that, like, as we all evolve in the one, two, three, four, five in our life, that in that one space, you're kind of trying to get your sense of you before you kind of join in the two, and you're trying to make sure that it matches and this and that. And so I can see how you're a little bit more hesitant, right? Because you're kind of standing alone as an ace, but you know that you're part of something, but you're so like about doing it for yourself and from yourself. And that can be a little squirrely when everything's kind of inherently connected, but you feel this real surge to like make sure you do you, that you do it the way you feel you should do it.
no, yeah, yeah, exactly. That is the ace. A lot of times they, and that's one thing I was saying. I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but a lot of people can kind of take them the wrong way because it can have a little selfish connotations with it, or they can be
Yeah, they
seen
almost come through a little arrogant.
right.
I
Yeah.
mean, no offense, I'm becoming. That's my moon, the Ace of Hearts, and the Ace of Diamonds is my transformation, right, or vice versa, something like that. But I know that this week, boy, yesterday, that 8 of spades day, and I finally had some time alone. And I always like to reflect on the epiphany. For whatever reason, the energy of that time always seems to like make me want to write. And I was writing about the cards and have all sorts of fun stuff to talk to you about, because it was interesting what came through. But in writing about how we evolve with the numbers and how everybody has to kind of learn the lessons of that space, right? Because even though it's the ace who lives it maybe more loudly and proudly, we all live that classroom.
Mm-hmm. And at some point in time, and depending on how we dealt with it, it's the results of, you know, how we play our cards going forward as well.
Oh, yeah. It's always about how you play your cards, Rashad. Nice. So, yeah. So that sounds fun. So what happened? Did people come? Because I know we're on a different time today.
It's just,
No.
I don't know if you can see how many people. It's a few piling in as of now. But
Okay.
there was only like 1 or 2 people here earlier.
Well, thanks for doing it. And hi, J-Lo. J-Lo sends me such fun stuff on Instagram. I'm not someone who ever kind of like sits and goes through TikToks. You know, I can't imagine if I did. I feel like I'd be sitting there for hours. So I'm like afraid to start it, because people are like, well, just go to this or just go to that. I'm like, I don't know. I watch my kids just sit there and they're just like look like zombies in TikTok. But there is some funny stuff. And I always love what people share with me. And she usually picks pretty wise stuff too, and very much sisterly friendly. And so I appreciate it. But it makes me laugh, you know, how that TikTok is such a alluring place, you know, because it's got so much information there, like all of the things. Like sometimes I have to like stay away. Personally, I listened to this lady, Mel Robbins. She's a 3 of diamonds, and I'd never heard of her before. And she was a woman who lived with a certain amount of anxiety, and then came to a place where she activated, like NASA, this shift in her character by using 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and like switching and like almost pivoting and not letting the mind hold her, and using that like frontal lobe kind of, let's go, like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I want to be like the sun. Show me another way. Like just push yourself, and how much it's activated new things. And one of the things she was sharing that I took heed to, what?
I didn't say nothing. I don't know
Oh,
what.
and I took heed to this suggestion that we don't look at our phone when we wake up. Right? That we take time to listen to what kind of is in our reflection or in our internal wisdom, or what creative ideas come to us. Like, don't go to the to-do list, don't go to the emails, don't go to the bank account. Like, stay present in the morning and kind of see what's inspiring you. And so yesterday, in that day of writing I'm sharing about, all of a sudden, like without, my phone, it was funny, my phone didn't even charge all day. I had it on 3 different chargers and it wouldn't charge. And I was like, boy, once I made a decision not to have a phone today, the universe was really like, okay, you good with that? Because we'd like to see it too. But it was interesting to see how much differently my energy was connecting and inspiring and writing when I wasn't distracted by my phone. I'd like to think I'm not addicted, but I'm sure I'm addicted in ways too. The phone's so powerful.
Yeah, I think we're all addicted. It's just a normal way to socialize, and like you said, to take in information. This our news.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at something that was showing like newspapers and people on a bunch of trains, and everyone had a newspaper in their face. You know, it's like we haven't changed too much as humans, right? Like, so even still, you know, I think we're always trying to get more information, gain more information. You know, but like you said, there's those times we have to take time for ourselves, and those the aces, right? Take time for ourselves and understand what we want and what we desire.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think having that 3 supporting you, it sounds like it creates a lot of impetus to like, and this and this and this. You know, I know when I have the 3 with me, like right now I have the 3 of hearts in my 52 day. There's so much creativity that wants to get played through. But then as an ace, it would seem that you want to play it through in a way that feels like you, and you're not being affected by anyone. I find that the aces can be manipulative, but also be easily manipulated when they don't have confidence.
That's interesting. observation. I've seen a lot of them with confidence.
Yeah, mostly do. But I think that sometimes, the confidence can get distorted. Like our insecurities can get distorted. So can our, like, look how cool I am get distorted.
Yeah, and as I'm looking at the spread, I was looking at the seven of clubs, and I was just speaking about the seven of clubs and how letting outside voices and things interfere with your clarity from what's trying to come out of you. You know, as you said,
Right.
maybe creativity or anything else. Um,
Mm-hmm.
can be projections or just negative thinking. You know, that can
Mm-hmm.
hinder your personal growth a lot of times.
Yeah,
And
that makes sense.
that negativity and all of those thought
You
patterns and
froze.
everything. Also, three clubs and it has a three club.
Slow down. You're
Am I here?
freezing. You're freezing and you're moving. So slow down.
Can you hear
But
me
go
now?
ahead. Yeah, you said
Can you hear?
something about now I can. You said something about that they can be the ace of clubs can also have like insecurities and doubts that can play with them. And then you went into three of clubs, but you broke up.
Yeah, and that also is where it can range from the three of clubs and the three of spades. That doubt and that fear, that can come about. I forgot what I was speaking about earlier, but um, I think it was them working with like foreign people or something. But yeah, the three of clubs and the three of spades can be doubt and fear. You know, so if you haven't handled those, the three of clubs and three of spades, haven't became confident, there's nothing but the nine of hearts and seven of clubs on the other side of being upset, being disappointed from the people that you meet, from being upset and disappointed from not getting things that you wish for or hope for out of people,
Mm-hmm.
because I think you can kind of set yourself up for certain expectations, but if you're not surely and confident in yourself, then your expectations of other people is surely going to fall and affect you. If you don't have confidence in yourself and then not no confidence in other people, you're just lost at that point. And like you said, and just the opinions of everyone, trying to find that middle ground or that solidarity within yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times they want equality, like within relationships. They want peace within relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I'm confused about what is C19. You
she's saying
know?
COVID-19. The
Oh.
way that the way that I look at words is less as far as in it's more or less the emotion that it presents. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I personally don't speak about it a lot on my Instagram because it's something that I feel like I need to research more, and I have to
Mm-hmm.
see the evidence a little bit more. Also, Ace of Hearts things
Mm-hmm.
is
Mm-hmm.
is not believing something, you know, um,
Mm-hmm.
and needing more concrete evidence. But the Ace of Diamonds is COVID-19
Mm-hmm.
in the written form in all caps, in lowercase, it's the Ace of Hearts. But in the
Well,
beginning,
it was such a powerful part of individuating. Like COVID really supported a lot more self-awareness and individuation and slowing down. Like, so it kind of makes sense that it would be to the reflection of what you're talking about in regards to who am I? Why am I? What am I going to do with my passion? How do I trust in people and not get like lost in, overcommitting or trusting somebody who can't do it or manipulating somebody that I want to help me, like whatever that kind of stuff is, it comes through that says, I'm not sure I can trust, but I want it. Right. So I think that again, like in every card, I have to say, thank God on this seven of spades day, it's always about your faith. It's always about, can you trust what's happening is happening for you and move curiously and gracefully into the process that's yours, because we're all living in natural processes of unfolding. We have to make choices the whole time. And as an ace, you're really trying to refine yourself, but also create because you want to. Like, that's part of how we get expressed, is to create. And sometimes relationships and lack of faith can make you not create.
Yeah, it alter and hinder your whole creative process, especially us and
Mm-hmm.
thrift. They have that same issue as well.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, letting people or relationships interfere with their process of creativity. You
Mm-hmm.
know.
As a
Uh,
king of diamonds, I think that's my life lesson. Like I can see why my transformation and moon card are those aces, because the uber responsibility my character feels to the community, to the family, to the people, to the roles, that's grows some values, it grows some experiences, but then there's a way that to go to the next cycle, I'd want to bring that clarity into innovative, heart-centered creativity, new partnerships, abilities to create in the balance of the Trinity from the wholeness that is me, making new foundations, allowing changes again, learning more about myself, making that bridge again, going into my cycle of productivity in my 8, letting go again what I have to, and then becoming new again. Like, I think these cycles and these numbers are really just paths of how we grow naturally.
no, yeah, it is. I've this week I've been just pondering a lot about that, and why is it so on point? you know,
So
um,
on point, bro.
and as far as like even within the solar system and those things, and how I believe our solar system is just a advanced clock. So
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Mm-hmm.
it's just a natural progression of things. It's numbers. You can't have one or two without the one, right? So where you
Mm-hmm.
go from, and
Mm-hmm.
then where are you heading to? And what's the evolution and progress after that? Uh,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so with like you were saying, that faith that happens with the Ace of Hearts, and that growth and that development between the threes, that kind of happens, and this completion that kind of happens. That has the three of clubs, three of spades, but the transformation is the seven of spades, as you were saying. Did you say that, or you
I was
said?
just doing I was just doing mock up the numbers, and of course
Yeah,
today the 7 of spades, and that is a card that I identify to be like my faith card, like that being my positive karma or my north node, south node, whatever you want to call it. I have a certain type of strength in my character because of the faith that I carry,
mm-hmm.
and I
Yes.
think it's available to everyone.
Yeah, so the Ace of Hearts actually transforms into the seven of spades. I don't know if you knew that.
You probably said it before, but we say a lot of stuff about cards. But my brain, I'm gonna get a poster of the solar spread. I think the life spread and put it on my wall, because I do feel like when I look at it, it does so much for my clarity. But I did. There's two things I really wanted to bring into the day. Is my sister. We all played cards growing up, right? My sister plays cards with, I don't know, 6 or 7 friends Friday nights, whatever. I play Mother May I, this rummy card game. Um, she just posted on Facebook, I think yesterday. I'll have to send it to you. That the cards equal the seasons and the 13 and the elements and how they add up to 364. Like, oh my gosh, did you know that? Like, almost like surprise. And
Yes, sister.
my sister, and she even wrote in the text, Madeline, I know you already know this. That's what she put that on Facebook. I was like, yeah, it's pretty magical. But that it's becoming like that she did that like organically, you know what I mean? And I was like, look at that. Cards are popping up. It's awesome, right?
Yeah, so yeah, this the seasons and the natural progression of things is like I said, even going into the astrology, it'll get way much deeper. But that's interesting. So before this, has she ever like asked you about the cards, or was ever like really interested?
Well, yeah, I mean, we've had very overview kind of conversations. Like, it happens that her second son and her husband are the same card, and they have certain kind of bumps and dynamics, but one's at a Capricorn and one's a Cancer. Do you know what I mean? So I just mentioned that, and like she's a 7 of hearts, so there's been times that I really grew so much compassion for her character when I understood more about the 7 of hearts, because her whole life classroom has been around boundaries, food and boundaries.
Food and boundaries.
It's
That is,
like
but
straight up, like that's just what really happened. So I've touched on it, but yeah, it was nice to see that. So what is this that they're saying here? There seems to be a call to want to talk about certain things here. What do you think, Rashad? Are you seeing the chat? Can you see it? Do you want me to tell you about it?
Yeah, I can see it. What's it?
Purport. What word is that? This card is a very good purport. What is purport? I've never heard that word before. I gotta look it up.
Let's see.
It must be support or spelled wrong, maybe. This card is a very good purport. It dominates the surrounding cards. It always implicates the caution to rectify past mistunes by a new and higher beginning. Oh, mistunes, misfortunes. I said mistunes. All right, you have it up?
Yeah, just dealing with the truth, honesty, which they have a jack somewhere. Let's see. Parent should be appear or claim or to do false, especially falsely. Um, yeah, they have a jack um, as a cosmic lesson. So having to remain honest is very important just for that card. So appear or claim to do or to be or do something, especially the verb she is not the person she purports to be. Oh yeah, I've heard it. Um, I was trying to show the other side of that, but I didn't mean to show that part. But it's okay. We learned something new. But the for 2020, the Ace of Hearts was sitting in Saturn, Mercury, three of diamonds, Queen of Diamonds. Now, wonder since we have a three of diamonds in Jupiter, Jupiter wonder if the new Drykoff ten of spades would be the amplified of the uh, cosmic lesson. I'm, um, I'm not
Maybe COVID virus. Be amplified of the COVID virus, CV. I'm not sure.
positive. Yeah, what do you mean by that?
It says which they are claiming is it is. My mental is on 100. Personal 8 of diamonds for me. Appear or claim to be or do something especially falsely professed. Taylor, why don't you come into the room and talk with us?
I
So,
think. Sorry.
go ahead.
For the COVID virus, the I don't know I wouldn't pin the Ace of Diamonds as the card for it, per se. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and for sickness or health or anything, the spades are more pertaining to that. And also with the Ace of Hearts, health is diagnosing health or anything medical isn't really approved um for the Ace of Hearts because it has a lot of threes with so there's a lot of indecisions um that kind of happens and of course the three of spades they can kind of take on other people's illnesses as well. A lot of times they shouldn't be around hospitals and those things and within the health field because they take on a lot of people's emotions and it can affect them physically. So,
Mm-hmm.
so sitting Saturn Mercury, I have to look at the whole spread of the United States to kind of see um, with that also. But there has been, I think, a flu or something been going around, but that was she was mentioning 2020. So as far as 2024 and now, I'm not exactly sure where um, the card of COVID is. And I say in the way I look at words and the phonetics of things isn't as I guess fixed as far as like reading and looking at certain things because words change, meanings change, emotions change around
Mm-hmm.
words. So as you like first it was COVID, C-19, like see the like a lot of people, jargon. There's a lot of that's always created within words. So it's
Mm-hmm.
a ever changing. So it's always hard to kind of pin down um, the words and meaning of things like through the cards. So that's why I don't really do it too much, and looking at what it is for the year, because
Mm-hmm.
always changing. People emotions are always changing around certain.
Well, I have yesterday wrote something. It's called A Call from the Queen, and it ended up being all about the cards. And the gist of it is around the mind being the king and the intellect, and the heart being the queen, and the alignment of the jack being the player in below, right? And that the jack, queen, and king need to work together in some type of shared understandings, right? And that the jack is out playing, but supposedly informed by the wisdom of the alignment of the king and the queen. So if there's a split between the king and the queen, the heart and the mind, then there's going to be conflict in the family, the whole family, everybody. So there seemed to be a in the. I mean, I would totally read it to you, but I don't know if it's appropriate. But I'm eventually going to read it to you because I can't. I was thinking the whole time I was writing it, I can't wait to share this with Rashad. So, because it was definitely like a like just coming out like I was writing. I was like, what the? But it's so clear, and I've been really hyper focused on what's up with these royals and what are we supposed to learn from this? Like, what is the teachings of sovereignty from the royal energy? You got that dry cough coming here, right?
Yeah, I know. I was sick past week, I think, and my throat became like itchy yesterday. I was like, I hope it's not coming back.
Right. But I do think it'd be spiritual growth, like JLo's saying, in that as you make that relationship between the queen and the king inside you, like all that twin flame stories of harmonizing the male and female within so that you can meet in divine union. Because as long as we're in conflict in our heart or mind, or some part of us is playing out a wounded story, we're making relationships based on that vibration. But in that alignment and that oneness sensation where your heart and mind take the time, like we keep talking about, to listen and understand the understandings of the queen's perspective of the heart and the king's big mind and ideas, like letting them come together so that when the information and the impulses from that more player energy or that bridge 1 through 10 that makes us new again activates, we're moving at least with the awareness from a higher place of why we're doing what we're doing, what's important, the shared values that we've agreed to, so that we can become more spiritually aligned to whatever way we make a connection above and below, and whatever gifts we bring into the shared space. But that's the kind of brain I got going on, Rashad. This is my Ace of Hearts version. I hope you like her. Hey, Jayla.
Hi. Okay, so yeah, because as soon as 12 o'clock hit, it's like I started receiving downloads. I'm like, what the hell? What's going on?
Give it up.
But
Give
then
it
when
up.
I look, my personal day is an 8 of diamonds, which is a transformation for my 7 of spades, which is today's day. So I was like, whoa. So when things start coming in, it's like, this is making so much sense to me because I watch like my grandkids when they get sick and stuff like that. So to me, that's one of the things. And I know my grandson, that's actually an ace of clubs. He started getting sick on the ace of spades day. His mother was in his card. The yearly card was his dad. His dad had his yearly card. So I've been like connecting like where the things come from and how they come. And I was like, oh, this makes sense. Hold up. So I just decided right now, literally, to go and look at, I wonder what's the card if we just spell out COVID. And it's actually the damn, like I said, you can't make it up because now they're stating that the cough that's coming up now for people, which is a very dry cough. And I know because some of my girls have it. I'm like, yeah, I sound like y'all 80 years old. That's how bad the cough is. And they're claiming that it's more stronger than what COVID brought. So I'm like, with it being the new year and things coming in, and we're literally, the 3 of diamonds is literally in Jupiter. So it's amplifying whatever it was. And if you look at it, the mom, the dad, and the child. So even us, it's always that trinity of 3. So what is solidifying and amplifying with that 3 of diamonds?
Nice,
So
J-Lo.
I'm like, oh my gosh. I said, woo, I love, listen, I was even talking about because we have the eclipse coming that's supposed to cross. I'm like, I'm going out on a limb here, but this is what I'm told, and I'm not holding nothing back. I'm sorry. I
You're
ain't
not going to
getting
get the cough. You keep talking.
no.
You're not going to get no cough.
Ain't nobody whacking me. I said, I'm not having it. No way. So it was like, I seen this post that yesterday was actually from Puerto Rico when Maria and Irma went through. And that was in 2017, which was the ending of the eclipse that we had in the US. So I was like, why am I hearing I am? Irma is I, Maria is M. If you just say it phonetically as I am, like that's the root. Like I was like, oh, sugar.
Nice.
Okay, I have to just write about this. I don't know why. And then when I started looking, I literally have like I made a post. I was like, let me just post it. I can look crazy. I'm gonna share my thing and I'm gonna write what they're telling me because I don't want to get sick. I don't want to get dragged. I know what it is to get dragged. I was 49 days in the bed because I did not listen. No, you're not doing that to me, boo. What you want me to say? You want me to say I'm green? I'm green.
Well, you know, there's definitely a way that in my experience of being human, when we get sick, it's one of the ways our body can talk to us, and it's one of the ways we can move energy through us, and it's in the current, and we all have the ability to kind of meet it and make peace with it or turn it into something, right? Because like, I don't know how this happened, but I had COVID twice, and I had, you know, I couldn't leave the house. I did that, but I did not have a symptom ever. But I had COVID.
You know, and that's interesting.
And I accepted it, and I said, okay. And I love the slow down, right? Give me an excuse to do a paint by number. Fine. Give me an excuse to be alone in my room. Oh, darn. You know what I mean? Like, I love that stuff. But I wasn't sick, but I was taking heed that my body and me was calling for like, go smaller, come in, get tighter. Don't take in anyone else's voices but your own. Listen, be creative. You know, like, and that was what COVID was to me physically and even when I had it.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. Like, I got dragged, and my stuff started back in 2016. So when I apparently got COVID, because it was after my mom passed, like the same day my mom passed, 2 days later, they let us do a small funeral, went into the funeral home. As soon as I came home, 99.9 fever. I was like, where did this come from? Hold up. So my mom, I'm the baby, and my mom is a 7 of hearts. So I'm like that was my integration when I literally started decoding death with all of this. It's weird. Like I look at when my parents passed away, where was I sitting on their plate, what their combination. I'm like, it all leads me to what I'm doing like right now. Like they were better off on the other side than here with me. So now I've become the matriarch of my family. So we already branched out.
What was the age spread of what was the age spread that you was on when that happened?
Well, for my mom, it was 3 years back. I was 46, which is kind of funny because in human design, my moon card is the 46, which is actually in the line that I have it and is in line 4 is 46-4, which is actually the galactic center.
Interesting.
So it's like when I pulled, like literally me, my brothers, my sisters, a lot of us got really sick. And when I called, they was like, can you breathe? I was like, yeah. They said you can stay home. I was like, mother, hold up. You're telling me just stay home and die. I thought this was so bad. Like, why are you going to tell me stay home? And I literally live about 8 blocks from one of the major hospitals that has so many deaths, and they have freezers outside and all this. I was like, oh, okay. But you're telling me stay home. You want me to die. So now looking at that 10 of clubs, the dry cough is mental. Like
exactly.
We already
it's grief.
know
it's
how
unexpressed
bad.
grief. It's unexpressed grief.
So it's like push it out early, get rid of it, do what you have to do. Because if it's not expressed, you're just going to have that loop. The 8, turn it sideways. That's that infinity. Are you willing to carry it all the way over again?
That's so true, J-Lo. I was remembering, and I don't know if it was you, because I know that you came into the circles of us when we were talking more with Lewis, and he brought in the Gene Keys. But I also know you've been around the Diamond Group too, so I'm not sure. But I remember one time in Clubhouse, Lewis and Deborah bringing in like some type of psychic intuitive, somebody with their gifts. I don't mean any disrespect. I don't remember how they called themselves, but where they were talking about the energy of a four of
Oh,
diamonds
yeah,
or
I know,
the
I know.
energy of an ace and so, and to talk about the collective of what that energy would be doing with another energy. That's the kind of stuff that's been coming in this writing that I did about like
Yes.
really seeing these things as collective energies. Just like when a woman gets her period once a month and she starts acting out on her boyfriend and she seems like it's just her, but it's really her connected to the whole collective of women and how we feel about our boyfriends.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? And you don't even know that you're picking up on that. And all of a sudden you're seeing them different because there's a collective hold that we have in the way we react sometimes when we feel vulnerable. And there's been a charge against the masculine, the king, the mind, because it's taken us away from our queen and our true needs to nurture and be at ease, but also navigate and do great. Like we're not looking to kill the king or let the queen reign. It's a king and queen game. It's a working together better kind of thing. But I really was remembering that person, but you weren't that person. But do you remember that thing I'm talking about?
I mean, I wasn't there, but I know who it was because she's
Okay.
what she does is she downloads the frequency. She's like, if when you go into the human design, like she's reflector on both parts, so she's able to
Oh.
like channel.
Oh,
So when you
interesting.
start channeling, she channels the frequency, which is just the energy itself.
Interesting.
So I'm like, oh, I get a lot of that. So I'm like, no, I'm just a little bit like,
I
so
know
that's
you're
the
a
battle
club. You're
that
still
I
in your head.
have.
Yeah. I hear that. I hear that. Yeah, my brain likes to be run into. So no, I was just thinking about that concept. Do you remember that, Rashad? Were you around for that, or did you hear about that?
No, I don't think I remember that. No. Yeah, that's how I look at the weeklies. Like I said, I'm a three, so I'm skeptical of everything without solid proof. So, but overall, that's how I look at the transit astrology and the weeklies. You know, and the changes as far as seasons, like you said, there's a natural development throughout the year collectively that we all are on. Just going throughout the seasons, like we're all under this, excuse me, the environment, rather depend maybe on your locale, because that's a lot of a part of astrology that I've only seen one person kind of get into, as far as based upon your longitude, latitude, and based upon your location and how it affects you as well, which makes perfect sense, right? Like if I'm in California, and versus Florida, that may be a different type of aspect, or a different that I may have from someone in a different time zone, and kind of sort of how as the states, as far as cardology, isn't based upon that. That's more based upon the establishment date. But I think there's a broader range, or um, there's a better way for us to maybe look at that as well. So, I think there's a specific location that could be affected based upon, like, the sun is in Capricorn. This part of the earth isn't as affected as maybe another part, and it's seasonal changes that takes place. So I completely understand. That's why I think kind of how I look at the weeklies. Like I was saying, like this week is an Ace of Hearts week. How is everyone feeling around relationships? How is there more? And I actually looked up when are the most births that happens around, and they're saying that between August and September is when the most births happen. I was like, no, that's not really Ace of Hearts. It takes about 9 months to make a baby, right? So there's maybe not a lot of baby making around in the first, but because the Ace of Hearts deals with children, and deals with passion, people feeling lonely, relationships, and all of those things. But I open it up saying also, speaking about it's a new year, a new me, new year. So you have the Ace of Hearts, so you have this natural inclination to maybe start something new, feel like something new, or this kind of just death and rebirth that kind of happens with the aces. Right. And it also kind of goes into health as well a little bit, even though we were talking, I kind of said that the Ace of Hearts isn't the best around health, but it can lead to, I guess, the indecisions, making sure you're taking care of yourself, not overworking those things that the threes have, setting new goals, creating a vision board for yourself. So there can be a lot of worry about yourself, your finances, and those things, and trying to get everything in order. So when it comes to, I guess, like a yearly or weekly energy or collective energy, that's kind of how I look at the weeklies. There's like this natural progression into the year. The heart,
Mm-hmm.
esoterically or within the book and context, supposed to represent the spring. This new becoming. So I think so. By the time we get out of the hearts, we'll be going into the spring, and then the clubs is going into towards the summer. So it's like, this progression of where we are and emotionally and opening up.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It makes perfect sense that we would be in that kind of clarity, because I think no matter what you listen to, whether it's the news or the astrology reports or the people talking, there's this current of change that's feeling so active and strong. And there's just like this real call to, like, it's going to get really different and big things are going to happen. And again, when I was writing, I kept coming back to how when we have conflict inside, or we constantly see conflict, it's very hard to come into clarity and oneness, right? Because you take sides in your mind and in your reflection, right? So all this external conflict and warring we've done over not necessarily understanding that each one of us is our own divine star. Each one of us has a unique way that we bring a frequency of clarity to this army of divinity. But because we've gotten this way that we've found insulation and comfort in, like, well, I'm with the people who really don't understand the green, and we're not going to play with the green, and we're going to talk about the green, and we're going to talk about how the green is wrong, and we're going to talk about ways to make the green better. And we're also going to make sure that our purple is really bright and that we're the right ones. And we're going to make sure that people who are smart enough to know that purple's right is going to come to us, but we're not going to be loving on that green because we know that that green is doing it in a way that's not okay. How does a little kid hear that and know it's safe?
How does what you mean?
How does a little child hear that and think they're safe? How does any innocent thing hear those kind of reflections of judgment towards one thing or another and a holding of something right and something wrong? How does a child not develop a shame or a way that they start to think they're right or wrong or good or bad? Like, we split the children at the gate. So in this Ace of Hearts week, I'm saying, don't split on you. Like, trust there's a oneness that wants to come through. Like, get curious, be innovative, be courageous, but don't conflict and split on you, because once you do, you're going to bring that wound into the two, and then you're going to have insecurities and not trust anything in the three. Like, if we want to live the pure spread and shift in humanity, it's going to be important to have faith that we can change. It might take time, and I know I'm always singing the positive poly shit, but it's still what is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, yeah, that's a perfect example. It's the child. It's funny you say that. I was just having a conversation this week, and we was talking, and I was like, I think I'm gonna let my child watch the news, and she was like, why would you do that? Why would you let them take in all of this crazy information? Like, why would you strip the innocence from your child?
Right.
No, I was like, because I want to be more aware. Why would not? So, but you saying that, and just me thinking about it over time, I was also thinking about it. I can see that to be true as well. And as far as not exposing someone to conflicting ideas about the world around them, or
Mm-hmm.
their desires, because this the ace is a card of desires. As a child, you have a desire of what you want things to be. So
Mm-hmm.
taking on outside information, outside projections, could possibly hinder or your wish, or the things that you could bring into fruition into a world that may not even be ready yet, right? Because
Mhm.
internal desire, this internal dream, and this internal peace that you're looking to have, and not activating that, it could possibly be because of outside interference.
Well, sure, because the innocence in us is the part that we can trust, right? Because once we have all of our calculations at the table and this and that, like we're kind of like gearing up a low grade war zone, right? Because we're trying to figure out. But when you tap into your innocence and you live in your heart, I mean, I've spent lots of time with children, and they'll just say it, and they'll just say it so purely and so easily. It won't be held back by any idea of what's okay or not okay. And you watch them as they get to a certain age, not able to say what they want to say because they know that it may not be okay.
Mm.
Right. So now they're no longer, and I'm not saying, like, of course, there's things that are appropriate that we're teaching and stuff, and it's just to help regulate yourself. But I mean, just the innocence of just kind of like, why did you do that when you just said that? How come you acted that way when you were that way? Like just the little lies that they see in our interaction sometimes. And like, they wouldn't dare say it because they want to make sure they get cookies later, or they get a toy, or you don't get mad at them. But they know what you're doing. Like they know. I mean, geez, they know. Like they're not missing it.
I've worked with kindergartners, and boy, oh boy,
They know. They're like, they're
Oh,
seeing right through it.
yeah.
they sure do. Oh my gosh. I'll give you a perfect example. My granddaughter, she's a 4 diamonds, and she's a Leo sun with a Scorpio moon. And she asked me to hear a song, which I know it's an adult song. She hears it at her mom's house, right? I actually told her, go and ask your aunt. Her aunt is a 4 hearts. So she goes and she asks her, can she hear music? So she goes, you got to go ask Mima, because that's what she calls me Mima. And she goes, I said, no, 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 no. What did she ask you? She goes, she wanted to hear a song. I said, what song did she ask you? She goes, no, she just said she wanted to hear music. I said, let me show you how energy works right now. You're a Scorpio 4 hearts, right? That's my Halloween daughter. I say, now, do you remember when I tell you I can tell when you're sitting there feeling a certain way? I said, now look at her. She asked me for this song, but she thinks my grandma's not going to know nothing, right? Because she old. This is just, and she's only 5. Okay. So she knows the frequency. It's just there. It's in your DNA. There's no hiding it. Okay. So when I tell my daughter, I said, now you're 20. She's 5. Look at the age gap, right? But she has your moon. So the energy behind a Scorpio, just look how it flows. She knew to me, she could just ask me regular. I could be honest with Mima, she's not going to know nothing. She's a little old. Yeah, dude. No, I know. Trust me, because I'm reading the energy behind it. So my daughter got so furious. She was like, no, 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 little girl. You know, I was like, bring it down. Take a breather. I said, I just want you to learn the energy of her knowing that she needed to lie to her aunt, because she would have told her no, because it's a little,
Oh, she didn't say the name of the song, is what you're saying. Like she
No, she
left
just said,
out the name of the song because she knew her aunt might say, nah, nah, nah. But she just
yes,
said a song. Like it was just like an innocent thing. Like, oh yeah, sure. You know what I mean? Like knowing that if she said what it really was, because they can feel the energy in the music that it's not okay. Like
yes.
we're at the store, certain toys, certain things, like they get drawn in. Like I think that's all connected to that, like outwitting the devil, distracting kind of stuff.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like sometimes you ask yourself, and if you think about it, if we go scientifically, hello, your egg was inside of your mom, your mom's egg, your mom had your egg. So it's like that whole generational thing. It's fractals. The fractals, once they start falling apart, is when you start being like, I've seen that before. Hold up. Now it becomes just like, oh no, it's nothing. No, no, that's a pattern, boo. Because you did it. And it's not only specifically because, of course, you use astrology, human design, gene, whatever you use in order to be able to solidify what a person will be better understanding. With a kid, you'd be like, this is a triangle. No, it's going to stay a triangle because that is a triangle. Even if it's a square, they're going to be like, but no, my teacher told me that was a square. Why are you telling me? they will fight you because they know, like, wait, I was taught this way. Why are you going to tell me? So it's the same way. It's just watching the patterns as they come, and then you break them apart and be like, So I'm like, when I tell my daughter, she gets offended. I be like, I'm not saying per se you. I'm saying the energetics. Even if you don't want to show me that, I am hearing it. I can see it. Your body structure, when you lean this way, she's like, now they watch how they stand next to me. I'm like, I'm not trying to read you. I'm like, go ask them there what's going on, because I'm not trying to be the mean one. I'm just letting you know how it comes so you can learn the energy. So even the younger that they are and you see them, I'm like, what the heck is going on? Like, it's so mind-blowing to watch these. So everybody thinks it's just like, oh, they think that it's, oh, these COVID babies, they're advanced. No, boo. That's your ancestors going, tuk tuk. Hey, remember me? I'm here. I'm back. And you want to talk? Let's talk about it. This is how it's supposed to be. And we'd be like, who you think you are? If they could have told you, trust me, they would have been like, well, I'm this person. Do you remember me? But by the time they grow up, because we're teaching them and forcing how this is how you're supposed to learn. This is what you're supposed to do. Everything goes away.
Oh yeah, my
So
Queen
it's
of
like,
Spades granddaughter, around three or so, was coming in with all this stuff like, don't you remember? Don't you remember this? Don't you remember how we did this? Don't you remember our plan for this? And I was like, oh wow, I wish I remembered. Help me remember, But like, she's not there now. If I brought that up to her now, she'd be like, oh, Granny, you're being silly, la 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 la. So, I do think those of you who are out there who are having those conversations, listen for gold, you know what I mean? Because they're here to support alchemy in our families. They're here to be part of the catalyst of what else we can grow when we remember the simplicity of life. We can't deny that we've complicated the heck out of stuff.
Oh, yes. Which is bringing everyone back to being to the basics, right? So if you notice, we've gone back. I'm like, back into time. Hello, we're living everything at one time. You just don't get it. It's how you want to look at it. Everybody's like, oh, no, I mean, I don't watch the news or nothing. I get my news from when I see a post or something. So I don't watch no TV. So my things is just like, it's just floating up here. So I mean, like, if I'll see a post, it'll trigger off something and it's like, oh my gosh, wait. And I'll start writing. Then I know what's going on. I'm like, oh, so then I'll go and do the research. Is this really happening? Oh, it is. Then it's like, I'll receive more. So that's why I'm like, I look at the kids. If they can't use the verbal responses, they're just energetically pulling in everything. So it's like, you can't say they're making it up, dude. So who's teaching them? Because it ain't me. They know what they're doing.
It's a monkey game. We imitate, we're more like monkeys than anything else, right?
Yeah,
so we imitate.
Yeah, it's all about a preparation, for later on, and to understand who you are, to understand what you value, and how to judge your environment. You're judging other people, so you're getting prepared, in those early ages, and you're, like you said, do you kind of remember what happened or remember the things you said, which sometimes a lot of people may not remember, but ultimately it's a reflection that happens, in the way that you talk, the way that you speak as you get older, and it came from your the way that you was groomed as a child, the way that spoke to you, the way that you responded. Also, those times where you was able to show your like I was telling my mom that I wanted to have my own business at an early age. Like, who was I speaking about? Like, where did I get that from? And she's like looking at me like I'm crazy. So those are those pure parts of yourself, but I mean, of knowing who you are and being able to understand what you truly value, and so early years of childhood and the Ace of Hearts and that innocence that is groomed, is precious, should be taken care of, and like I said, I have to look at, I don't have no kids, so it's not like I'm making a decision now, but letting my child.
You're still cultivating your child, your inner child, right? Because that's that whole stuff that happens as you get older, is reparenting yourself with consciousness, right? Just like each generation is doing something a little different. So like my generation, you weren't supposed to talk. They should be seen and not heard. So of course, my move was my kids are going to be heard. I'm going to listen to what they say because I didn't like how that was, right? So we kind of create that also on our own journeys, right? So it's like, how do you parent and nurture that young professor, that young creative genius, and not make him feel insecure and crazy because he's dreaming such a big dream, and realize you came to be that kind of guy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the projections,
And not take them on like they have anything to do with you.
yeah, it's a thin line too,
What do you
Very.
mean with the projections? What do you mean? Like sometimes they do have to do with you, or what do you mean?
You said what? Sometimes they what?
Like projections, what's the thin line? Like when somebody's projecting onto you an idea of what you should do, how do you stay liberated and not necessarily feel shame or a way that you don't match their expectation, right? Because especially if it's an authority or someone you love, it can resonate like a failure or a disappointment. But in truth, you're living an authentic, timely unfolding.
Yeah, no, yeah, because sometimes people are just trying to protect you, but then
Mm-hmm.
have to attend to who that person, that child is. I think that's why we come to metaphysics is so we can just truly understand what are we projecting, what we're not, and
Mm-hmm.
we actually be communicating and leading this young spirit or because or this little the desires that the little ones have or the desires within yourself,
Mm-hmm.
what is a part of you and what's not, so it's all that growth and shedding your new skin process.
Mm-hmm. So, is there any other stuff that feels like it has to happen? I'm getting nudged very loudly that I have to read this thing out loud that I wrote. I talked a little bit about it, but I'm getting this like, speak, speak, say what that is, say that. So, do you guys have a problem with me reading this thing that came through yesterday?
No, it's fine.
Well, I think when you talked about the
the
little
con-
girl in the art, what?
no, I'm gonna say go with the context again of it.
I'm gonna. So you know how like you were talking about that little younger you and you know how it might learn. So the queen in me wasn't as loud as the dude like girl or the woman who took on the king's ways, right? Because in the movie I watched, they had more access, power, could do less. Girls did more of it. Do you know what I mean? Like it just looked like a better gig, you know? So whether I did it consciously or card friendly. So now at this time, there's this queen energy. And I felt like over the holiday, I experienced like a commencement or a graduation of my maternal character and watching each one of the boys kind of stand where they stand and be who they are. Like almost like, okay, I got my degree and I'm ready to be free. You know, I felt very liberated. And then just recently, you know, they left and then work. And so yesterday was like my first day all by myself in quite so many days in a row. And I like totally woke up feeling very queeny. Do you know what I mean? And not very like heady or kingly, like very cuddly and queeny. And I was like, oh, geez, now what? You know, because that's somewhat of an awkward space for me because I grow the way I grow, you know, based on the way I was thinking. So I started to write and I started to think about the queen's voice, like a call from the queen is what the paper said. Like, you know, and when I do these kinds of writings, I soften, I chill, I drink my water and do my stretches. And then I'm just like, okay, what am I writing about? And I wrote a call from the queen. So then I wrote out what I got when I wrote that. But hold on, it sounds like there's an issue at the house. Oh, I see what's going on. Well, let's see. You guys want to watch? Hold on. I'm going to hold on 1 second, guys.
She got the perfect title, A Call for the Queen. Seen that? In living color. You can't make it up. I'm telling you, the cards will speak louder when you don't listen. Like, hello, Miss
going,
Queen, we need you.
and going back to
I'm going to keep filling, Rashad. I got to keep queening. I'll be right back.
okay, I think I was gonna say something about the at 30 at at the age spread. What was the age spread that you were speaking about earlier? That
Well, I was looking at the spreads that I was looking at for my mom because she passed in 2020 was like you look at the United States one, which was 64 at the time, I think it is. Was it 64? I think it is. So I was trying to see like collectively how was I going to fit in? And then for myself is bringing it 3 years back. So I'm on 49. It will be 46.
okay. Yeah, I think so. Around that time period, you're displacing the Jack of Diamonds. And what's your mom's card?
Seven of Hearts.
The Seven of Hearts. Oh, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter. Okay, she's in Jupiter actually for you for that year, and actually displacing the Eight of Hearts as well. Uh, and at 46, there's a special. This is a special spread. Unlike any other spread, the Two of Diamonds is black. So technically, is it becomes more heavily as far as like health and finances, and it could be perceived or seemingly a little harder because it's in a Saturn position as well. But your mom's is displacing the Seven of Hearts vertically for her. Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. She has a Venus. So did you feel like that you was communicating with her after she passed? There's a more building, trying to like build an ancestral connection with her.
I believe it started even before she transitioned because she was like seeing things and she was explaining it to me. And my sister was like, why are you listening? She has dementia. What's wrong with you? I was like, let me tell you something. I said, she's in between worlds right now.
Mm.
Everything she is saying, it's like I can see it, like I can feel it, literally. So when I would talk to her, she would tell me more, and she would tell me more. And I'm like, so that's why, like, as soon as we went and she was in the hole, as you would say, and I came home, that fever hit. And I'm like, okay, she's just like, okay, here's the downloads. Because she passed in the house how she wanted, which is like back in the days. Like they left her there. She was in hospice. I was taking care of her. You understand? So it's like I'm looking after my mother, which is what I'm many supposed to do, but not everyone does it.
So yeah, you're supposed to give to her at that particular moment. Yeah.
Yeah. And she used to always tell me sorry. I'm sorry. And I was like, Mom, how many diapers you changed in mine? You know, like you don't have to tell me sorry. Because she's a Libra. So she's very, very humble and very quiet and she didn't speak up much. So now it's like, no, girl, you don't have to tell me sorry. It's okay. So me seeing everything, and then at that time I was more into astrology. So it was like, what's transiting? What's going on? What's here? So I was looking at all of that and bringing it in. And I have an Eight of Hearts year. Like I've literally been since like my personal year is an Eight of Hearts. So it's like I'm literally connected with the collective, even if I didn't want it. So it's like you don't have a choice. Here you go. Eat. Eat what I'm gonna feed you. So when I see that, I look at my own personal stuff and I'll be like, I wonder. And then I'll go out and branch out and be like, I wonder how people are feeling and what's going on here and what's going on there. And when I start getting more is how I'll start seeing and linking it into how the collective is. And I just see it as, my dad was a Three of Clubs. I'm like, I'm his Uranus card. So it's like, yeah, I'm linking whether I like it or not. So let me just pay attention. And the more attention that you pay, the more and clearer that you're going to receive the messages that you need, not only for yourself, but it'll help you branch out when you start seeing the cards coming in. And I'm like, oh my God, the cards makes it easy because I could just play with anyone like, hey, you see this card? Let me just tell you how this card energy works. Because I'm looking at this is for me personally, how it went. So on this day, did you ever notice anything? And when you start hearing somebody else's story, it's like, oh, okay, so it's not just me, because now I'm finding the pattern of how it's feeding me.
Mm-hmm. And also around that time period, you had the Four of Spades and Pluto as well. So that goes into the ancestry work. And we're in the Eight of Hearts year. So it's interesting, like I said, you bring her up in the Eight of Hearts year. And she was displacing the Eight of Hearts that year for you on your life spread. So she was sitting in the house of the Eight of Hearts at that particular time in that year as well. You know, so it's like, deja vu as we call it, or just going back and reminiscing about that particular time period. Um, and also, like I said, the four spaces ancestry work. So setting up your altar, setting up anything like giving you peace of mind around your house, setting up things that she collecting things that she may have liked and loved, and putting it around your house or putting it at the altar to strengthen that connection that you have with her. Yeah. And you had a Seven of Clubs. That perfect example is what you were speaking about with the Seven of Clubs. When you're doing that type of work and you're trying to communicate and dealing with communicate with people that has passed, the Seven of Clubs also deals with negative people speaking against you or trying to figure out calling you crazy, not knowing what you're doing, but you're doing the work. Like you're strengthening that communication with those people that you love, and also strengthening your own faith. Creating those mantras for yourself, and creating a self belief in yourself as far as what you're creating and what you're doing, and using practical reason to create and communicate with her. So it should have been strengthened around that time period. And then your transformation is into the Ace of Clubs. Of course, and the Ace of Clubs is a curious. I always call it the card of coffee, into intellectual curious one. And so, yeah, women around that time period, just overall, you had the Queen of Clubs, Moon. Um, you know, so you just communicating with women overall would have been pretty heavy and
And
important.
I'm about to go into a Queen of Clubs on Monday for 52 days. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, and I've been feeling literally like the Queen of Clubs. So that's why I'm like, why am I like, I don't even know who this is. I don't know nobody that's the Queen of Clubs. So I guess it's just, if I was to looking through my ancestry, I'm pretty sure I'll find someone with a birthday like that. So it's like, I don't know where it's coming from. I just know it's coming. And I'm like, okay, I'm sitting here, I'm waiting, whatever you want to give me, I'm willing to take. Just let me know how I'm supposed to express it. Because there's been times that I write things and I'm like, I'm losing myself because I write it so quick that
Mm-hmm.
it's like I have to rephrase how I'm saying it because I'm gonna lose people if I say it. They're gonna be like, "What the hell is this crazy lady talking about?" Because
Mm-hmm.
it's like I intertwine. Like, okay, today the sun is in this gate, and this is the card of the day. So I'll weave in like how it is because I have that I Ching medical book. So it's like when I look at it and then I hear certain medical issues coming up, I'm like, hmm, this might be something I have to look after for a few years because, of course, it takes years of study to make sure how it integrates and everything. So I'm like, oh, this makes sense to me because I've already seen the pattern already, like with grandkids, as I said. And my grandson, my first grandson, is an Ace of Clubs. So when you start thinking about it, it's like, you can't make it up. My first granddaughter is a Two of Diamonds. So it's like all the transformations, I'm looking at the little ones that are around me. And as they're growing, I'm watching them and paying close attention to how this energy works in a child. So when I see it out there, I'm like, that looks like this. I already know you. Hold up. Let me see what you got to offer me. Because when it comes at a higher octave, every time you get older, things shift, they change depending on the person, depending on the sign. So, I mean, I don't know the birthdays exactly, but see, I'm a Jack of Clubs. My friend is a Jack of Clubs, but he's a Cancer Jack of Clubs. I've met a Jack of Clubs Gemini. So it's like I'm literally meeting people that are me, kind of, but with a different octave because they're in a different sign. So it's like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing because I see some of me in them, but then when I take that part, I'm like, those other parts is not me. So that is this specific sign with that card.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting to me because
I
I was just
love
like,
that.
I'm receiving,
I
I'm gonna take it.
I love that. I got that a lot in the rooms with all the kings that came, like Eden and Brenda. And I know lots of kings, and it has really helped me to see how the Aries king works and how the Capricorn king works. You know what I mean? Because there really is a different impetus based probably on their astrology and lots of other things, right? But basics, there's a lot of same basics though. A lot of bossy people, Kings. That's all I can say. So, so thanks, guys. We settled. Felix was having a meltdown, and the king was responding to him with, he needs to be an authority and he needs to sit and do what I say. And I was like, oh, it's not going to work. So the queen had to come in and soften the game. So it was an appropriate time. so let's see.
The cards will speak very loudly. So everybody, some people still get lost, right? So after watching this, they're going to be like, okay.
Well, that's okay.
Well,
yeah, they can
it's an action because it just happened.
Yeah, it's okay. It's all part of life, and I accept life fully. So, like what you were saying about your writing, like I write in a way that makes a lot of sense to me, but that doesn't mean when you hear it, it's going to make sense. You might be like, whoa, that person really lives in some deep water. And I do live in some deep water. And I apologize for ways it doesn't make sense, but please ask questions because I like what it tries to say, and I'd love to say it in a way that it was helpful. Okay? All right. A call from the Queen. The story of divine unfolding, learning the lessons and teachings from the divine reflections in my direction. Once I resonated in certain emotions, they grew a distortion in my personal lens. My values were skewed by the impulses to meet my wounds. We share a collective wound of separation in our shared foundation. We move for our comfort. The mind was or is king, and the heart is the queen, and we all have a jack in our gut who plays in both worlds. We are initiated into evolution and expansion at this time. We share in this classroom of life. The division in our spiritual understandings fed splits in our heart and mind. We are called to emotional sovereignty to meet the king and queen within in peace and connection to the oneness that is us. Each of us is a unique expression of divinity, an inner alignment of mind, body, and soul. Your soul is your seed of unique possibilities to express your unique gifts in your community. So as our mind moves as a king and the queen takes second, we lose balance. It creates conflict within. The call for peace and inner harmony is a key to our next evolution. We are the solution. We represent a form that can express the truth, light, and peace within us. The fight within manifests a broken world where failure ruminates in ourselves. We co-create hell. The queen's now rising in all of us. It's a heart frequency that we're asked to meet. A wisdom, a shared genius is released. It's juice for peace. The jack, your character, the changeable form, deciding over and over from where to meet the opportunity to experience life. Where will he, she, or they make their decisions from? Me, we, a cause, a value, a desire, a personal attachment to comfort, a family, an idea of you. It's time for the king, the mind, and the queen, the heart, to align and welcome those who are called to their higher selves at this time. And then we let it happen. The king and queen resonating in shared values that support an army of divinity to meet our next co-creation of a new foundation. When we share our values and honor and respect sovereignty, we grow free, a new free to be you and free to be me, as we grow more wise in the heart, now connected, no longer neglected, feeding from the pulse of our shared wisdom as we grow a new foundation for our thoughts and habits. Now let's talk about the other cards, 1 through 10 or 9. We grow in cycles, everybody playing parts in this production. Some of us remain fixed too. I like to believe the fixed represent some of the shared values, long-standing, honorable ones. Though even the fixed cards have the classroom of shared values and common good. As all of us are likely to experience, we can easily be distorted in our lens when we are in a perception of power over another or ourselves. It takes consciousness to regulate our vessel, to move in a way that you can trust yourself no matter what card you play or experience. This is the shared classroom. Life is a school and relationships are the classroom. So an ace is uber independent and also conscious of resources. They are a part of us that can be innovative, and if we lose sight of our shared value of emotional sovereignty, be manipulative or easily manipulated based on their self perception and confidence. Weak yet strong, always needing to find a way to be courageous. And a two wants to connect and come with charm and a fear of losing self. The two is where we see in the mirrors of each other and grow more aware of the common experience we are having. We can try to fix the other and soothe our wounds and grow connected and interdependent in codependent ways. A three is unity and filled with creativity, living in the captivity of indecision and illusion. Three is an adventure and creative pursuits, a life of art, art to balance the pace and passion within the clarity of alignment, and using their stillness to guide that trinity in neutrality, with a use of ritual to stay sovereign. A four wants more. They're ready to build, use what they know, and grow a foundation for personal legacy from their deep connection to a past that not all of us can see. A five calls for change, where all moves and flow are in a comfort state when we are not plagued by our mind's doubts as all is played out. Faith again in shared values is imperative, and to feel apart when moving in so many directions, and ease when surrendered, because we can feel so separate when we're in those changes. Hello, Brenda. A six, time to pick up all the sticks, to look within. Who are you? What is your nature? What does balance and patience in the process grow? Where is the lessons to bring you the bridge of a person you can honor and trust? And a seven is that stairway to heaven, a walk from who you are to the unknown, to allow faith and a clear mind working in union with the heart, allowing transformation to what you are to create and express at this time. And an eight's when you take it for a ride and you go and you go and you go. You move with determination and passion on the course of your understandings. You grow personal power, resilience, and grace. And in the nine, we let go and grow again. All is ever changing. As we move through life, we can get attached to ourselves, to our ideas, to a person, a role, and infinite other hooks. So as we grow and it's time of the nine, we let go and start again, learning from experiences, each of us building our next best version. So the concepts we share, the awareness of the lessons, ages and stages, is a huge complement to our current crop, collective rite of passage. These cards give us templates of what has grown over and over. It is predictable to a degree. Our choices always play a part, as does our frequency. The cards can reveal like a string of likely experiences similar to an astrology chart one will have to learn the lessons of how we relate. As we grow in right relation, heart and mind align, connected above and below, we bloom in the heart to inspire what we grow. The cards have a pure spread where we are in right relation. I have pondered it so many hours, for we have the king, queen, and jack of spades, and then follow suit down, all standing with our suit in our position. I've never felt like it was about dominance in the charts, though as I took classes and listened, I heard people identify with their position or placement in a way that felt more judging or dominant. I tend to sit second for my comfort, so I never spoke the way I wanted to or the way it seemed. It was like a kaleidoscope taking form and being designed to change as we stay clear in our personal purity and innocence. This is tricky. When the mind is doing a mantra to feel stuck on a certain emotion, it seems there are competing stuck energies in a natural process. As we see and understand our placement within our shared soul family, and that each of us are being invited to tune true, the king and queen within, and bring that jack home to discuss family values. For we know we must learn by example. The way we interact as king and queen, both internally and externally, creates our family. There you go.
That was really good. Just going through and explaining the process of the card and inside of yourself. I think before I thought you were speaking about outside, but it's all internal, and also external as far as how you communicate and use those experiences to help you communicate externally, right, with other people. But the internal growth and relationship you have within that process, like you said, is predictable, kind of like what we were saying in the beginning. So I see what you're saying, like it was kind of you what the conversation was in tune or in line to.
Yeah, to what I wrote, it was like the same kind of stuff. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
mean, also there's the way that when you're around a four and you know why the four is driven, you can honor and appreciate who they are and how they do it. And you
Mm.
can know that when you're in that four or were in that four, you had that same opportunity. Right. And then everyone has different opportunities at different times. So I also feel like it grows compassion for the ladders, for the experiences, because we have to play all those parts out to learn the lessons of sovereignty and to learn the lessons of co-creation and learning to meet people in a shared frequency. Because if we're in those splits and those ideas that green is right or purple's better, we're just always going to be there.
Yeah, and it's always the person's personal development as well. I think a lot of times we undermine the fact that a lot of times people don't have the experience or the knowledge that you have, so they may not attack something, or the way that they may do something may not be in the same manner as you. And as we grow older and become adults, it gets more and more, I guess, frustrating sometimes to be that change or to seek that change as far as growth and development and where you are and where you at, and through that process as well. But definitely acknowledging it. And if you hear it in this space, you acknowledge it, you see it. So I ain't gonna say it's easier, but you become more wise as you recognize and being able to understand and grow from your reflections, like you said in the beginning, like reflecting upon your past and your personal growth and things where you at within your own queen king development. So
Well,
yeah.
when you look at the pure spread, the king of diamonds is on the bottom of it, but it starts out that ace, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's making the pathway up to the king, queen, jack, right? So I feel like that's what it was doing, was walking that path with an understanding that in that path to sit where you sit and be who you are, however you align to your star, you'll have these experiences and you'll be able to make choices consciously with awareness that these are the challenges in those parts.
Yeah, especially if what makes you kind of see that this is the life spread, but she's speaking about the pure spread, which is another kind of like stagnant spread. I kind of mentioned that um, in our in the video of the Eight of Spades. It's one of those examples. The Eight
But
of
isn't it the spread of the week for the United States? Isn't the pure spread 89 or something? Wasn't that in our chat that this is the pure spread week? That's kind of why I started to look at it.
I have to go back and see. I'm not sure. I have to go back.
Yeah, I think in our chat, that's the one that got put up because it was 89. So I'll look, I could be wrong, but that's maybe I just decided that and went with that because God knows I do shit like that.
No, you're fine. Yeah, there's a the pure spread comes up at 45
Twice.
and
Yeah.
89. So
Yeah, that's, yeah.
there's a subtle. It's not the exact pure spread. The difference between the pure spread and then the spread on the um in the calendar or in the grand solar squares is you have the same karma cards in the pure spread. So the karma cards would be the same in the pure spread. In the solar squares, your karma card will be yourself, or you'll be challenging yourself. So there's kind of like this personal
Oh,
development.
that's interesting. So there's a different karma card on the bottoms. I see that because instead of having the 3 of clubs, it's the king of diamonds with the king of diamonds. It's like your own mirror, like your own reflection.
Right.
Which would make perfect sense to that journey of the ace up, and then you'd be using yourself to see, what did I learn in my independence, in my unions, in my creativity? Where am I neutral? What is the foundation of my core beliefs? What am I still changing? How do I learn myself well enough to trust myself? What are my spiritual practices? How will I keep going when it's my turn to live the year of the 8 and the dragon too? And in that 9, what will I have to let go when I grow more divine? Because I don't know who I'm meant to be at this time. I'm still wearing my programming. So yeah, very cool.
What was the last part you said?
I said, well, who will I be in the 9? Like, I'll grow more divine. Like, each time, like, we're evolving. We're an evolving species, right? So we're grooming ourselves to have maybe a different experience with a different kind of consciousness or frequency or whatever word matches your comfort. So in that 9 time, like, I don't know what I'll have to let go to grow. You know what I mean? I just know that when I live the consistency and the awareness within those first 8 or 9 numbers, I'll be cultivating natural changes and new forms.
Yeah. And as you go through the age spreads and you develop, those things become, like you said, you start to, well, J-Lo was saying that, you start to see the patterns, especially when you become more aware. And as an adult, when you study children, you really get to see their patterns. You're able to kind of really see and help them and where the things in those 9s and how it affects them, But then, there's also, the unpredictable side, of, like Gina always used the expression when the 9 of diamonds came, it wasn't money that was lost, it was a tooth. So, but all in all, the growth and development, letting go, all those things, are still there, especially as children. Best way to observe and to reflect is, like J-Lo was saying, it's really looking at the children outside of just reflecting on yourself and learning these
Oh,
things.
yeah.
Like, as we were saying, like, children are really pure. It's this pure desires that they have out of, hopefully they don't have with their cell phone when they're first waking up. Of course, I know my niece and nephew have an issue with that now. But it's pure vessels, so I think that I got to do as much, but I do want to do. I'm just not in the space to study children, but most definitely it is inevitable, the way that these things flow, and that's why the birth charts, and also, like you said, you don't know what's coming up, but that's why the birth charts are that 1 through 89, so you can see ahead and also understand which one of those 2s, 3s, or
Right.
what in this period, this 52-day period, kind of like Jay was saying, the Queen of Clubs 52-day period is coming up, and I'm not to say deja vu, but just nostalgically looking back upon the last time she really had it was at that age 46 that Queen of Clubs was in the moon, so it could, not say that it's going to come up again, but it could be some reminiscing and those things.
Or some healing of whatever happened then, right? Or just ways that you get to re-meet whatever that tenderness was. Because sometimes in those first hits, whatever losses or experiences we have, we can only take in so much, and it takes time. You know what I mean? Like, my dad died in 2018. I mean, like, each year we've had different little spaces that we've met and conversations that I've had with him to clear some of the confusion that we had in our relationship. And only as I fully free myself from his character and the projections of him do I feel fully liberated to be the version I'm here to be. But I'm so grateful for the lessons. Like, I recently went through a whole thing talking to him about the 3 times that he struck me, you know what I mean? Like, the reasons that he struck me, like the things that he thought were important, and if I think they're important or not, because he wasn't like a physical guy, and he would just be like, what are you doing? Or a smack on your head, like, like that'd be the way he thought he was showing you, like, how stupid you were. And I was asking myself what I feel about those things, because they were big markers to me, because he smacked me on the head or he smacked me across the face, like that wasn't his normal fare. He was a gentle man. So he must have felt really strongly. So I had to kind of check on those. I'm like, well, do I feel really strongly about that? Is that something I really needed to keep with me? Do you know what I mean? Like, was that a judgment on his part, or is that something that he was trying to make sure I didn't forget? Like, one of the things he always got mad at me for is not standing with my shoulders back, like not standing like a 5'11", 6 foot, like boss girl. Like, he was so mad at me. He literally like hit my shoulders, like, what the hell? And I'm like, don't fucking hit me. Like, stop, but I tell you, as the queen speaks, I'm like, gosh, I really do want to put my shoulders back. Like, I don't feel as burdened as the queen as I do the king. Like, I got boobs and shoulders, and why not, like, as they say in Miss Maisel, tits up, like, go for it. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, but I didn't always walk that way. And it used to make him so mad at me, you know, and I didn't even understand why he was getting mad. I'd be like, you're kind of crazy, like, cut it out, you know? But meanwhile, he was trying to say, like, stand in it.
Yeah, and that's that thin line I was speaking of as well, you know, because sometimes it's not a negative projection, it's actually somewhat who you're going into as well.
Yeah, and I loved what you put into the chat about the 17-year-old and the cards coming up. So I know you keep saying you're really busy and this and that, but when a window stops you know you have a day and you're in that brain, like, I'd love to talk a little bit about the children and the ages and stages. Parents are asking me about, I have my understanding from my experiences, but they're like, what can we do with these kids? These kids are coming for them. They want to know what we believe in. They want to know what's going on. They want to know what's real. Like, they don't want to get smoke and mirrored. You know what I mean? Like, they want to be seen for their process. And they're like, what can I expect? What can I do? I know I'm passing on to him. I know he's imitating me. I know that I got to do something different. So I still pray for how the universe inspires that information for families, because I think it could be so helpful.
And you know, I was going to tell you, if you know that in place 67, which is like for the United States, which is the collective, you're sitting in that 10 of clubs. So that's why you're receiving those messages. Because I'm looking at my daughter and me having to look back at patterns that I'm trying to break, because I have an Aries Chiron. So looking at the patterns that I'm trying to break, and knowing from when my dad was born in 1915, my mom in 1937, you know, so like looking at the years that they grew up and what was going on collectively in these places, and what my mom had told me, the tidbits that she wanted to tell me, because she didn't want me to bring her whole life with me.
Right.
So but you only tell your kids certain things, even if it's something that, you know, was traumatizing for you, but I need you to learn this for a reason. Like when you said about your dad, it made sense to me, because one of the things that was kind of highlighted was domestic violence, of people being locked in their house, that they can't get out the house, they can't this. That's mental. Everything is mental. I have a 10 of clubs, and she's here so much, and I'm like, breathe through it, breathe through it. Then if you go back to looking at with the kids, for some reason, when we was talking before, I'm like, why do I have to look up what card is the word drag? Because we know all of this is going on in the schools. We as adults always have judgments. A child will look at it as something funny because they're so innocent minded. And that card is actually the 4 of Hearts. And
oh, that's like, funny.
I say you can't make this up, because if you look at it where Rashad has it now, where is it? On Neptune, Mercury, right? And then the 10 of clubs in the pure spread is Neptune. Neptune, that's the pureness, like that purity of, that's what's coming through to us. Because the way I see Aquarius, I'm like, it's been holding all this shit in this urn. I'm about to, time to refill it. How you want to refill it? Like, you understand? When you look at domestic violence, is a 4 of clubs, which is when that first, like the hurricane that came into Puerto Rico and stuff. So I'm like, this is making all sense, because it comes into where the King of Diamonds comes in. And you're literally sitting there. So you're literally just, it's just the energy. As the wind is coming and going, you're going to feel all of that. So even with the older people, what I literally sit here and ask, I'd be like, when you show me something and I think it's just me bugging out, I'm doing it with my kids and I see it, literally, I can visually see it. Let me know what age group they're in. Because I know they're this age, but when I look at them and they say certain things and certain movements, I'm like, that's that 10-year-old little girl that I used to look at. That's this person. This is where this one is at. So I'm grasping the child inside that adult with that card and knowing like, holy crap, like this is what's here. So I know like the domestic violence is going to start coming up, of having to address it the same way they had to address everything that's going on with the stars and all of this. It's coming up. What do you look at? Look at P. Diddy, right? That's the star player. Where did it start? Domestic violence. So you being in that position, you're flowing with it. So to you, you felt the need, like, this is what I have to give everyone. So this is what I'm going to give. So it's like, now sit down, because it's definitely going to come knocking on the door. Hey, hi. Even the adults, and you're going to be like, wait, Not a kid,
Wait,
but it's that kid looking for you.
no, it is the kids looking for me. Because, when I studied trauma work, I studied something called focusing. And there was a cool lady from Canada who brought it into larger light. And she had some really great wisdom around trauma. And the focusing was really just like staying really attuned to someone when they were talking in a way that you could kind of notice that they were speaking from a smaller part of them, or they were speaking from another part, like they were connecting there. And then you would kind of go and track there, And she also shared that what happens is when we have traumatic experiences, some lands back in our head, but only pieces of it, never the full story. Do you know what I mean? And a bunch kind of lands in our body and a bunch just flies off into the air. Do you know what I mean? But because so many of our traumas, like that of domestic violence, are shared, they also get strong vibrational frequencies on them. And that's where we're really being called to the hardest work, I think, of our human work, is not falling into those slots of victim, hero, or persecutor, or that triangle of despair. Because these things we live through, these ways that people can't regulate and dominate and use power over and scare people, like they're just part of the messiness of what happened. And not to say it's okay, not to say that wars are okay, not to say rape's okay, but all of these things are part of what we are capable of as a species. When we don't
it is.
align head, mind, like body, and soul, when we don't align, we can be out of control and we can do damage.
Yeah. And it's funny because, see, now I'm thinking as you were talking, I have a daughter that's a Queen of Hearts. And the same thing that I just expressed to you about how kids and why I had to look up drag, see, it all starts connecting. I literally had the school called ACS because my daughter was drawing a cave person, and because the lumps and then the sticks coming out, she is 6 years old. What do you expect? Some Picasso to come out, dude? Like, I went in there, I was crying. I was like, this is nothing to fucking joke about. Are you kidding me? I said, yeah, I have these people coming in at 11 something in the night, waking up my kids to check them because you're thinking, this is what she's drawing? I said, as an adult, of course, the first thing I'm gonna look at is, oh, she's probably being sexually abused. Look at this. It looks like a penis. But did you look at the clothing of the person that she's drawing? Do you see this? Doesn't it look like Fred Flintstone? But as adults, we are very dirty-minded. The first reaction is negativity before you go to the pureness.
Yeah, we were definitely more
that
tainted.
Came to me, and now I just went the way you said, having the plates going forward. The 5 of diamonds is next year for 68. So once July 4th comes, we're going to be on 68. The 7 of spades is sitting in that 10 of clubs. So today's energy that we're looking at and we're feeling into, it's like we're already in the future while still being in the now, looking at the past while still being in the now. So it's like, this is, hey, are you looking at me? I'm here. And then it's on a 7-day. Like, you can't make it up.
Well,
the Sunday that's in the sun. So that's how, like, that's why when I replay, it's like I get this little movie. And it's like, remember this, remember that, put it here, put it there. So it leads into, okay, we're going back to the kids. Even though they're older, what happened back then? What could they possibly need to release, as you said, in that 9? So it's probably even finishing up those loose ends to make that knot and be like, okay, I got 2 loops, like a steering wheel. Now, where are you going to go with this? Hey, let's get it.
And what is that knot?
Like that to a kid.
Yeah, you definitely can, because I know in the moon dances, I happened to be there when they were celebrating their 13th year, and the maestro made a prayer and he had 13 knots, and he was talking about how everything that's happened all started from the same first knot. Like, it all got repeated from that first knot. So when you make a bow or you make a clarity and you don't make a knot that keeps energy stuck, you can start to grow more free and more liberated over time. So knowing that first knot, or what you decide, because it's our personalities, our responses to the world. Like, we make decisions based on the way we perceive things. Yeah. And that makes sometimes a knot where we don't flow and let things go because we're holding. Right. So I'm curious, I don't know what the full right metaphor for the knot thing is, but I do know that idea that once we're knotted somewhere, it'll repeat. I've lived that shit, and I think that's true.
Yeah, I see the patterns flow too. Trust me,
Like
because I'll be like,
once, yeah, it repeats
that's a
itself.
piece of me there.
Yeah,
Ugh.
there's that thing again. Like, that's the me that I'm not sure how to get her free, because there's some knot or distortion. I find it more deeply, especially in the idea of the voice of the queen in me, that not trusting the masculine energy and sometimes being violated and not always respected by the masculine energy definitely left me more guarded around them than not. So it made it so the queen felt safe under my king's watch. And so now it's a matter of letting her be safe and not watching with such a, kind of feeling on myself,
Yeah.
because there wasn't a way that I felt safe as a queen.
Yeah.
But
So you see, it's even once again is we'll see it as, oh my God, they being indoctrinated, they being this. Like for us, because we grew up with, no, this is bad. You're not supposed to do this. Like if you take out the little twerk and stuff that you did, I'm pretty sure, because you can teach them something. Kids learn through acting, through seeing colors and stuff. And it's like, because the higher powers already knows, you feel me? And you have to sit there and, okay, so the parents are not doing a good job right now. Look, we got these going out of control because we tried to give what we didn't have to ours. So it's like, we're going to force the new generation that's in the schools that we have control over to do it our way, because even though we see it as negative, out of something negative, something positive is coming. After something positive, something negative will come. You need that polarity. So even though we're seeing it that way, it's like the Four of Hearts, you understand? Going in with that Ace of Hearts, it's like, okay, we completed here. We got a foundation, whether you like it or not. I don't know if you like how I gave it to you, but I'm going to
right.
give it to you. Here you go.
Well,
And you'd
change
be
is
like,
going to
oh,
take
snap.
time. It's going to take
Yeah.
time. We're going to have little movements. It's not going to be a drastic thing. But some of us are potentially more ready to not feed splits and duality consciousness anymore. That might bring a different kind of clarity in our foundation. But the children are going to still be wearing what we were growing in until they're liberated in concepts that help them feel new again. But their innocence will remain if they don't feel like they have to protect others' pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
we gotta go. Yeah.
But and also for context, we really don't reference it too much. But what Joe was speaking about was the United States spread. So the way that works is the United States spread is based upon the Declaration of Independence and Establishment of America as a governing body, and from that you look at the development of the country, of where we are going into the future. The way that the life spread works, it really does work good on a universal standpoint, because you're able to use kind of like the whole spread and use all of the concepts within the United States spread, and kind of seeing where we are. As I said, I'm at the point of making sure that like the Jack of Spades and initiate, and it has to show proof of your science and what you do. So following these things and writing down the events and dates and those things are best to prove it true, and seeing the things that happens and change. And I very much so see that America is really on the system. And the world works in systems, but it's especially America, the education system, right, is very much universal across the country. And so the development of it is universal as well. So they have their processes and things that they're doing. So it's always interesting. There's certain words and jargons that we've created around the cards, and there's certain things within the cards context, and also the numerical and phonetics side of using the cards. What is it called? Gematria. Gematria. I guess within the cards, it has been used as well for certain terms. So if you're not familiar, that's what some of the references were. I mean, we'll speak about it more. The gematria of all the cards and the meanings, and seeing if it holds true in the context of it.
Nice.
I've seen there's things as far as the way that you feel and the way that people say certain words and bring up the energy, and maybe the way that you respond to it as well. But in closing, was there anything else that you all wanted to speak about before we leave?
Thanks for letting me read that thing. Brenda, thanks for coming in. I hope you listen. I was talking about knowing other kings and the honor it is to learn more about my card. And J-Lo, thanks for bringing yourself in and all the ways that you stir the pot and show us from different perspectives. Thank you. Appreciate you a lot. And Rashawn, I love you. This was great. And I'll play around with my writings, but I definitely want to talk more about how people can use these energies to get wiser about our experience. But this has been great. And Gina, we missed you.
Most definitely appreciate you coming in, J-Lo. Thank you for the reflection in your writing. And also in closing, this was the Ace of Hearts, all about growth. And we spoke about kids a lot. And that's the Ace of Hearts, right? And it's the beginning and the influence of, I don't know if I wrote it down, but creating your values. It's the beginning of creating your values, learning who you are, learning what you desire, and out of that, you become more self-centered and being able to kind of help and aid other people. The Ace of Hearts because have selfish gains or interests, but ultimately it should turn into the humanitarian at some point and giving and people. But it's finding that balance, as I think you referred to earlier, Gracia. So thank you all for joining. I'm glad you all came up, J-Lo, and we'll see you all next week. And it's a Two of Hearts week. It's all about unionship. And it's another rare card. We kind of talk about that being a billionaire's card as well. So I guess we'll talk into this week.
And one last thing, in the mail yesterday, I received a value cards deck. Like, it's all about your values, and it's in rainbows, and it helps you learn your values. So here on the Ace of Hearts week, as I think about ways to play with children in this program I'm in, these value cards come that I ordered. So I think it's great that you reminded us that we all really have to know our values when we move in the world.
No,
yes, and thank you for having me. It was great because now it gives me a lot to.
Nope.
I'm going to definitely be writing now. So nice. I appreciate being here. Thank you so much.
Welcome. See you on the week.
Bye. See you next week. Bye.